All right, everyone, welcome to today's webinar. We are going to be talking about free add-ons, tools, and some troubleshooting tips for Dynamics GP. One of the biggest add-ons that people like is the enhancing the pasting from Excel into GP. Many people are used to the copy-paste into the financial module, but this add-in allows you to copy and paste distributions into AR and Payables, and then also do the copy paste with the intercompany into the financial module. It's a really easy add-in. It's a matter of going to this website and downloading the DLL and adding it to your add-in folder. The next add-on is the GP transaction search. Now, with the newer models of GP, the searching capabilities has become quite great. However, this add-in allows you to go to the inquiry screen, and as you can see the RM transaction search or the SOP, the sales order processing transaction search, or under the purchasing side, the PM transaction search. And what it looks like is this next slide here. As you can see, you can copy data from this search screen. You can also export it out to CSV. So it takes the searching to the next level, which is a little bit better than how the GP canned one is. However, it is another add-in that you can add. The next one allows you to take your auto numbering to that next level so that you can generate your next numbers for both your vendors, customers, and items. It's sort of hard to remember all the time what your next number will be. However, this add-in will allow you to perform that action. There's also the cleanup of unused accounts. And what this is a SQL view that you can create a refreshable Excel report, or you could create a Smartlist based on it. What it allows you to do is it allows you to detect which accounts have never been used, so you can delete them and make that cleanup nice. And then it also allows you to detect when the last time an account was used, so you can inactivate them, or you could go through the archiving process of removing it or what you would like to do with that account. Our next add-on is a multi-currency reference setup. And it's not really an add-on, it's more of a web page that gives you a checklist, because there are 10 steps that are involved in setting up multi-currency, and each one is listed on that website so that you know what you need to do at what step and when you need to grab information from the bank or what needs to happen next. This add-on is really great if you're using fixed assets within GP and you want to print labels. A lot of times our IT or different people like to track the their fixed assets, such as your furniture. You might have a barcode on the bottom of your chair that you want to track, and this allows you to print barcodes right out of GP. You just have to obtain a barcode printer. On this next one, the batch attach payables documents. Now in GP, you can attach the documents to a batch. You can attach a document per invoice. And what this does, though, is it takes it to that different area where you can create a batch. You could integrate a batch, and then before you post that batch, you can attach by specifying, probably can't see it very well, but the attachment path allows you to specify what document and where it's located and attach it automatically to that invoice. So as you see, there are 3 invoices listed here, and this tool allows you to give the path for each one of those invoices, and then it just automatically attaches those documents to those individual invoices. So it really helps you if you are using that part of GP where you're attaching documents. and you're integrating your invoices, it allows you to do that next step of attaching them instead of going into each individual transaction to attach them. There is a professional service tool that we can download for you and install into your system. What it does is it allows you to prevent people from receiving in more than the tolerance allowed. So you can set a tolerance so you don't over receive by a certain percentage. Another tool that we can download and help install onto your system that comes from Microsoft is the Safe Pay Total. This allows you to change it from a positive to a negative value. Most banks, when you're setting up Safe Pay, or also known as Positive Pay, they like to have all positive values and don't look for negatives. However, sometimes this allows, sometimes banks do want to have that, and this allows you to perform that feature. On the next couple slides, it's going to be talking about setting up a vendor customer portal that's web-based. It's a free cloud-based portal with free invoicing submissions. And what it does is it allows you to create and submit and maintain a cloud-based customer and vendor invoicing site. And then it syncs it back, all your data back into GP. Here are the steps in order to perform it. And what you do is you connect your business bank account. You then begin sending and receiving payments as well as invoices. And then you set up the sync instructions to sync it to your GP. And once it's installed and syncing, it's going to be transmitting back and forth so you can review and post and go and make your business an online business while you're still maintaining your accounting software within GP. There is the RM auto apply, which is very useful whenever you integrate and have a mass amount of transactions, or maybe they're old transactions that people forgot to do. But this tool we can download from Microsoft, and it allows you to mass apply. Now there's one caveat to that, is that mass applying means you don't have control over which ones are being applied to. So if you weren't trying to apply it to the oldest invoice and you were trying to apply it to a different invoice, this will not work to your favor in that regard, because you still have to then go and unselect which ones you shouldn't apply. But it's a nice tool that allows you to do a mass application of old transactions to clean it up, or just if you integrated for a whole year and you forgot to do the application part, this would help you do that process. Shipment notification. So another tool that we can obtain from Microsoft is a tool that allows you to know when dropship orders are transferred to the invoice prior to your invoicing the purchase order. So it allows you to determine when you should perform that action. Average days to pay. It allows you to add in a shortcut where you can calculate your year-to-date and life-to-date average days to pay for customers. It's a nice tool to help you recalculate that if you forgot to perform the closing process and you did it at a later time. This will help create that recalculation for you. The SOP sort line items. So if you wanted to sort your line items on your sales invoices in a different format, in a different way, because it defaults usually to your item numbers, you can have that installed on your machine on your system also, which comes from Microsoft. So you can determine, so instead of by the item, you want to sort it by your item tax schedule ID or location, or whichever option you want to choose. The SOP to POP line ordering utility. So what this is the sales order processing to purchase order processing line ordering utility. This allows you to reorder or realign the line items of your purchase orders, which were generated by your sales order processing to purchase order processing transfer process. to be in the same order as they are showing on the sales order documents. So it helps realign the purchase order line items to your sales order line items. There is a stock count macro generator that we can obtain from this person's website. It allows you to retrieve your stock count schedule from Dynamics GP and fill out your actual stock count on Excel, and then use a macro to populate it back into GP. The inventory adjustment macro generator. So taking it into Excel and then using a macro within GP to then import or create your adjustment batch within GP. So if you don't have Integration Manager, this is a nice little way to import your data in there with using a macro. Some features that are in GP already that a lot of people don't remember or don't utilize fully is there's the Reconcile to GL. And what this Reconcile to GL does is it allows you to take your subledgers and reconcile to your general ledgers. So a lot of times people, when they're looking at their age trial balance for payables, for example, and it doesn't match your general ledger transactions or your general ledger balance. This tool allows you to determine in an Excel, because that is what generates after you hit process, is that it generates an Excel that shows on one side your subledger and on the other side your general ledger transactions. And it allows you to see which ones are unmatched. So for example, at the top, there might be unmatched transactions between your subledger and your general ledger. And a lot of times those are just general journals that were entered on the general ledger itself. So this tool allows you to determine where that link became broken, whether someone posted it directly on your financial side or a batch is unposted or something to that degree. So this tool that's within GP helps to alleviate some of that hunt and peck type of situations and exporting out several Excels to determine where the subledger and general ledger became off. It's found under your financial module, under routines, and then reconcile to GL. If people use project accounting, there is on the Microsoft website a tool that we can download to allow you to change your contract numbers, your contract IDs, project numbers, IDs, cost categories, IDs after the fact. Normally you can't, but there is a tool out there that we can put on there to allow you to perform that. There's also on this essentially Dropbox a template to allow you to, that will help you create a project accounting accounts and set up your templates so that when you're taking it from this spreadsheet here and putting it into GP, you understand what transactions you have to have and what general accounts you need to have so that you can fully set up your project accounting without any issues. Another tool that's within GP is under administration. Under your system, there's something called activity tracking. And what activity tracking can be used for is for internal control and seeing which person is performing which transaction, who's accessing certain things. And this tool that's free within GP allows you to then also extract the results, either in Excel or just a SQL query or in a Smartlist itself, or even just the canned GP report. Generally, people like to extract it to Excel so then they can sort and review by user and transaction. And what this tool does is it allows you to see who accessed what document, for example, or what record was processed, or who accessed a vendor and maybe modified something. What this tool doesn't do is it doesn't give you specifically what was changed. There is a paid tool that you can purchase that takes it to the next level. It's sponsored by Rockton, and they have it where it takes it to that next level of what exactly was modified on the vendor, what exactly was modified or changed for the transaction. But within GP, This activity tracking allows you to enable it per user, per type of transaction, and allows you to really use what's within the system itself. You can also use this detailed payroll activity tracking. It is a tool that comes from Microsoft. It's more or less a SQL query. And what it does is it acts a lot like the activity tracking that comes out of GP, only it gives a little bit more detail and it's more specific towards the payroll side of it. User activity report. There is a way to see when a user is being idle or when they've logged in and maintain how long they've been logged in for. This allows you to then, if you in this remote environment, it allows you to determine who can be signed out of GP and why they've been idle, or just kind of figure out what's going on with their user. If they keep having SQL errors, was it because they were idle, or was it because they just forgot to log out for 5 days, or what the situation is. Unfortunately, after 2013, the process kind of changed within all the framework and everything. So it makes it a little bit harder to figure out when someone's been idle, but there are ways of figuring that out and still using the activity idle reporting and logging. There is, for all the DBAs out there, a SQL Database Manager that allows you to have a consulting toolkit and it's free. It gives you information about the tables, views, and all the different properties that are really maintained within GP and all the databases. There's also a query toolbook or toolkit. It allows you to create ad hoc SQL queries without having to be logged into SQL. So you could, if you were trying to create a Smartlist or create an Excel report, this will allow you to create that query and then take it to the Excel report or Smartlist and build your queries. There's also the tracing feature. So this allows you to track communication between people's GP and the databases, and it's very helpful with troubleshooting and identifying what tables are needed for reporting purposes, or when you're trying to create a customization, it allows you to see which store procedures are being hit so you can determine which ones need to be modified or reviewed. There's also a finder. It allows you to search all your tables within a company database for any user entered value. So if you're looking for something that it's very similar to how Smartlist works, only it looks at all the tables, whereas Smartlists only are really specific to the module or the table that is specified that you click on. So for example, if you're looking at the financial module, well, depending on the Smartlist, it could be looking at only the GL tables, or it's only looking at the banking tables. But this finder allows you to look for an item, and it will look at all the tables that it could be related to, manufacturing or inventory or banking, anything that has that, as you can see here, blue type of description that it's looking for. Resource Explorer. This searches your dexterity definitions for the tables, windows, and reports within GP. So again, it's a lot like the finder, only it helps you to identify where the field is in the tables. So if you didn't know, as many of you probably have figured out, when you're troubleshooting something that's going on in GP, it's not just one table that's affected. So when you're posting an inventory transaction, it's not just one table, it's multiple tables. And this allows you to determine or help you narrow down which tables it could be related to. For a lot of people who have multiple companies within GP, there's this thing called the Power Pack color settings. It allows you to tweak your interface and make it very custom to your specific user. It helps you to, make it so that the control bar at the very top is green, or the scroll window is for line 1 is light gray, or it allows you to kind of help you make it so it's easier for you to read, easier to navigate, and helps you to utilize everything better. There's something called GP Talk. There, you can message within GP, but this allows you to do free text messaging within GP. So if you're trying to, it acts a lot like Microsoft Teams or Skype, or ways that allow you to communicate within GP specifically though. Whereas Skype and Teams allows you to send files and talk throughout the whole organization. This allows you to talk within GP and see what's going on with each user specifically in GP. So for example, you're entering an order and you're asking people to wait 5 minutes, or you're printing checks and you want everyone to stay out of the system or not print checks to that printer. This would allow you to then send that message to everyone who is within GP so that you could prevent people from using that printer or whatever you needed to do. There is also a way to track your client versions. It's a free utility that allows you to manage your configuration of your GP client so that you can make sure that everyone's machine, like if you had a new install, that they had the right service pack or that everything was properly installed. The View Wizard, it's a utility that helps to facilitate creating SQL views. So if you don't know what ITM-TRK op really means, it will allow you to understand what that column means. So for example, it actually means item tracking option. So ITM is short for item, and then TRK is short for tracking, and then OP is short for option. So it's a great tool that when people are trying to build Smartlist or build queries, they can figure out what the column means instead of just guessing at what it means or looking at all the different windows or transactions, or anything to help alleviate that guesswork. Record lock trace utility. So prior to GP 2016, you couldn't figure out who was locked, who had records locked, who had the batch locked. After 2016, it was added into the system so you could see which batch is being edited by a specific person. But this utility allows you to figure that out. For those of us that like to play around in GP and look at where a vendor could be located or a customer's located, you can change your maps to use Google or Yahoo. It's a Visual Studio to change the type of map service. So it's a real easy process to change it, but you can change it to Google or Yahoo or anything other than what the canned Microsoft one is. SmartSort. So this is from Ethotech. It allows you to speed up your inquiries of your data, and it eliminates as many as 3 mouse clicks per lookup. So you can automatically sort the lookup information your specific way, so the specific user's way, as opposed to how other people want to sort it, right? So instead of the canned user pace, this will allow people to have kind of the same feel. For example, the sales territories, it's nice to have for sales reps. If you have sales reps and you want all of them to look at the sorting the same, this would allow you to do that. There's something called the SQL First Responder Kit. So again, this is kind of for the DBAs, but there is a SQL kit out there that has all the scripts, some worksheets, some checklists to help you diagnose and improve your SQL health. It's a nice tool to kind of take everything that a DBA usually performs, and it gives you little tips and tricks and scripts to help really take it to the next level. The Dynamics Perf, which is short for performance. This allows you to have a performance analyzer for Microsoft Dynamics. It was developed by the Microsoft Premier Field Engineering. It is a set of scripts that are used to collect SQL Server DMV data. So again, it kind of ties into the prior screen about SQL performance and making sure you're maintaining proper health and determining what's going on with everything on your SQL. So it's geared towards your DBAs who are maintaining your system. This is just a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. So people who are very much into utilizing your full keyboard, this website has all the Great Plains keyboard shortcuts. So for example, Control L, when you're on a window that has a magnifying glass, hitting the Control and L will open up that lookup window for you. So you don't have to click on magnifying glass, you can just click Control L and it'll open up that search box and then you can search from there. But this keyboard shortcuts shows you all the possible combinations you could use within GP that are canned in there. Everyone has macros. Most programs have macros, but GP allows you to create macros and do things such as auto approve transactions. It helps you to add in transactions or create batches or create transactions, or a lot of mundane things that you have to do every day. It will help to alleviate some of that information of clicking and tabbing and things like that. So you could create a macro within GP, and what this does is it helps you to learn how to perform those macros. So this gives you some macro commands to troubleshoot and adjust your windows. Dex.ini Switches. So the Dex.ini, if anyone's familiar with GP, you have your dynamics.set, which tells you where to look for the reports. And then the Dex.ini helps to control how to troubleshoot, how to synchronize. A lot of times we'll use the Dex.ini, those first three statements, the SQL log, the SQL ODBC messages, and the SQL log all ODBC messages, and we'll turn those to true. And what that does is it allows us to figure out what could be going on. Is it hitting, or whenever there's an error, or if we need to debug or figure out why your system is not working correctly, we'll use the Dex.ini and add or turn things from false to true so we can fully figure out what is going on. You can create a SA role without using SA. And what this means is that you can create a system administrator role without using your actual system administrator. For internal control purposes, we don't recommend you giving your system administrator password out. Otherwise, someone could do something in the system that they really shouldn't. So what this allows you to do is we can create a user and then just assign them the specific role that they need to perform. So within SQL, we can say that they are a security admin or they are an actual sysadmin and give them that right, but they can't do everything that the regular GP system administrator can perform. You can prevent users from having multiple logins. For everyone that has more than one company, you know that you can always log into more than one company at a time. So you could have 5 companies open at once, or you could just have one company open at one time. And what this script allows you to do, or the VBA, it'll prevent people from launching more than one company and being logged into more than one, because every time you are logged into a company, you eat up a license. So if you're only, so that helps to have people understand that they need to do all their roles in one company and then switch companies. There is also this caps lock reminder, which for GP versions of 2013 and earlier, you didn't have this nice little reminder that said the caps lock is on. Whereas now in the current versions, you get to see the caps lock is on. So for everyone who's older than 2013, you can add this DLL into your add-in folder, and it will let you know when the caps lock is switched on. There is an add-in for password expiration in GP. So for people who have GP 2018 and beyond, you actually are notified when your password is going to expire. However, for people prior to GP 2018, you need to know, or if you want to know when your password is expiring, you can insert this add-in to your DLL to the add-in folder so that you can make sure people, kind of like how when you have your Windows passwords and they're about to set to expire, this will help allow them to understand that also. You can determine your posting accounts. So you can create a report to review your posting accounts and where they're set up. You can also create you can use Smartlist within GP, but this allows you to create kind of a refreshable report that really takes it to Excel and utilizes the Excel more. But it allows you to determine where your posting accounts are, how they're set up, and what modules or windows they are being used in. You can also see what roles and tasks are assigned to users. So going into kind of the internal control maintenance situation, a lot of times people want to have a report that gives them what security role, what task people are assigned to, and what that task is in a short description of it. And this query allows you to create an Excel report, to create a Smartlist report or a SQL report, and have it automatically created for you so you can determine and provide it to your auditors. So AutoDIM, it helps you to schedule integration manager based integrations. It works a lot like Smart Connect or MainerLink, where you can schedule integrations, but this is based on actual integration manager. So this allows you to launch and run several integrations at once. Whereas MainerLink and Smart Connect, you can schedule those integrations at a specific time and then have it automatically done in the background. So this tool allows you to do that same function, only it's the downgrade version of just Integration Manager. And it's not a nice little screen that has that information. So going into Manager Reporter, people might not realize that when you're creating a report and maintaining reports, you don't always remember what accounts were added that year. So under Tools, Missing Account Analysis, you can determine what accounts are missing from which reports. So if you were generating a profit and loss and you didn't see in your totals are off by a lot, this would help you to determine whether an account was added that year and just not added to your report. Some queries and views from the community. There is Victoria Uden. She is a great resource when you're trying to build reports, because generally she has SQL views and other reports already built for people to utilize and take it to Excel or take it to Smartlist. But she has a lot of different great tools that I recommend everyone check out. So you can see different SQL views that you were thinking of creating. For example, if you wanted to look at inventory on hand. She has an inventory on hand report or SQL view that you can take and then modify to how you need it to pull. But it's a nice, it has the joins of the tables and basically takes you to that last step of pulling the data without tearing your hair out. Going over to Smartlist, we've recommend and really encourage everyone to fully utilize the Smartlist that does come within GP. It's a great tool. It's fantastic to search and find and see anything and find everything. And there's different things that you can do. So you can search on any field. So you can change your column name to be any field versus just a vendor ID name or an address ID. But you can search, for example, in this one, we were searching for any field that contains the word Alan or contains a value of Alan. I do have to warn you that if you use any field, you really need to be kind of specific on what you're looking for. For example, if you know that there's thousands of Allens, it would take forever for the report to run. So I would just take that with a knowledge that you need to be kind of specific on what you're looking for and know that it may take a little bit longer to generate the report than normal. You can also use the wildcard functions. So you have to specify the column name, and then you can use, for example, on here, we were trying to determine everything that started with 000 and the ending of 01, but then we couldn't figure out what the entity or what that in between number is. So we put a wildcard of a percentage so that we could figure out, so we would have it pull everything that had the 000 and then the 01 at the end of it. There's also the underscore, and that works kind of similar to the percentage, but it allows you to be a little bit more specific. So for example, we wanted to find everything that had a 1 in between the middle section. So it was 1, or it was blank and then a 1 and blank at the end. And it'll pull everything that has a 1 in that middle section. You can also use the brackets. So you could use an open and closed bracket to search for information. So instead of having the dashes or being the specific account number, this allows you to say begins with, and then use the brackets to say it begins with this combination of information. You can also use the caret. So the caret allows you to use the bracket and kind of says does not equal to this particular information. So it's saying not equal to 5 or things like that. So it kind of helps you to really take your searching to the next level. Talking about Power BI. So you do have Power BI. There are some simplistic Power BIs. There's also the paid version, which is the full version of Power BI that really takes your reporting and everything that I'm sure a lot of us who are remote more helps you to create pretty charts, pretty information to be used for your data. There's also for the DBAs out there, for just general people who are using SQL queries or building Smartlists, if you ever wanted to determine what table you needed and what the physical table you needed, these two websites give you that information for you and kind of gives you a breakdown of what the table definitions are. So what columns are included in those tables and what they could potentially mean. And at this point, that's all that I have to present. We can talk a little bit about the professional service within GP itself. So I just want to recommend that people do check out the professional service tools that's within GP and take a look at all the different options. So some common professional service tools that we use is the RM transaction unapply. And what that is it allows you to take your receivables transactions that you moved from open to history, and allows you to take those history ones and unapply it and apply it to the correct documents. So it essentially reverses you moving it to historical tables and puts it back in the open so you can apply it properly. You can also use the customer name modifier. A couple other common ones are the document date verify. And what that does is it prevents people from using a date that isn't set up in, or isn't set up in the system, isn't available in the system, and it gives them a warning that it's not correct, it's not there. So, all right. Well, I appreciate everyone being on and attending. But if anyone doesn't have any questions or concerns, you can always email us at support, or you can email myself, you can email Matt Mason. Any one of us who are in the GP realm, you can definitely reach out and we'll be happy to help you guys.